Hey, it's Alex Gubay here with the List My Products e-commerce podcast. And on this episode, we've got Steve Kilberg from SKRP Media. Steve, how's it going today?
Alex, thank you very much for having me on your podcast today. I'm grateful for the opportunity and looking forward to our conversation.
Now, Steve is not only someone who's helping coach currently, but also been in the trenches with his own e-commerce business. Now, before we talk about the mistakes that were made and the lessons learned, I want to ask you, Steve, how did you get into the e-commerce space to begin with?
That's a great question. So I had a job separation a few years ago, and my parents were getting to a point where they were aging, and my mother unfortunately had dementia. So my father did not want to be a burden to his children, but was also very afraid to ask for help, thinking he could take care of my mom, and that was just not going to happen. So I made a conscious choice to assist them and take care of them, but that I needed flexibility, something in a job that normally I'm always traveling. So I had to figure some things out. So I started doing some consulting with businesses, leveraging my online skills, and that was good for a while. But I just had some clients that were like so. And so I had some friends doing e-commerce, and so I said to my wife, "Look, let me try this for a while. If I can make this work, then we can have flexibility and freedom. And if I can't, I'll go job." Well, long story, nothing is a straight line. But if you would have told me, 5 years ago that we would launch a business from zero, from an idea, we had a dinner one night and grow it to seven figures, I would have fallen off the chair laughing. But that's exactly what we've done.
And I want to point this out, guys. This is also, I love that story, right? The personal aspect. I really connect with that. Uh, a lot of times when you're making a shift from, typical corporate, USA to, maybe an online business of some sort, it takes a push, right? And, that push, as tough as it was, took you here today with me, and I'm grateful to have you on the call.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me. I love having these types of conversations. And if I can inspire one person from your listening audience, it would make me feel very good that I can inspire somebody to move forward, because it is possible. And if I would have, again, I just didn't think it was possible. And I've had mentors that I've hired, and the thing that they always tell me, and you've heard this, I guarantee your listeners have heard this as well from various gurus or leaders out there, is 90% of it is right between your ears. It is all mostly mindset. The 10% is mechanical, which anybody can learn, but you have to have the right mindset. And having mentors and leaders help you that are farther down the road or farther up the mountain that can help you, then that is what you need. And now that I'm in a position where I'm farther up the mountain, I want to turn on and help other people as well.
I love that. It is so much of the mindset. And let's talk about that 10%, right? You did it. And there were some, mistakes along the way that we'll talk about today. And one of them, and I want my audience in particular to hear this, for the typical small business owner who I help, list their products online, when you're growing that e-commerce business, you need to have an email list built up and you need to market to them. Steve, you want to talk about your experience and understanding the changes that Facebook has put in place with advertising and how it's affecting business today?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a painful lesson that I've learned, but I'm glad you asked, because it's one that I shared with other people that I'm now coaching and consulting with, and a mistake that I will never make again. So as we were growing our e-commerce business, when things were good in terms of our ad costs, because we're using primarily Facebook and Instagram to generate traffic, and like any marketplace, that's going to change, right? Technology has changed. As of the recording of this video, the iOS, which is still the most popular mobile device, has made drastic changes with the data they're sharing back to Facebook. So Facebook as a traffic generating source is not working as well. It still works, but nowhere near the level it used to, which led to lower cost to acquire a customer. When that's working, we were fine. So we were building our email list, and the mistake I made was not emailing it frequently enough and develop a relationship with that list. As much as people say, and I used to believe this as well, email's dead. Oh, I don't want to do email. And so what do every morning? We get up, we check our email. At some point during the morning, we are all going to check our email. And one of the major lessons I've learned is not only that you have to acquire a list, cultivate that list, you have to build a relationship, because people, if they've made a purchase from you or giving you their email address, that is a signal that they at least are willing to extend that relationship. So that is something you have to cultivate and produce, that, share that you're a real business, that you care, and people want to do businesses with real people with real businesses. And the fact that we are a small business, I think, has led to a growth that we got to seven figures because people did want to look out for the little guy. And this is pre-COVID. So now post-COVID, I think a lot more people are very aware of that because they realize the small businesses throughout North America and the world have been crushed. And that has been, devastating. But it's a lesson that I've learned. And now that I'm coaching and consulting other e-commerce businesses, I instill from day one. And it is staggering the amount of businesses to this day that still do not leverage that asset. Because at the end of the day, it is an asset of the business that you've built up, that you paid for, that you somehow, there's been a cost to acquire that email list. And it's something you should leverage as best you can. And then it just becomes some of the math. And what I did not understand early on was a lot of this game, if you will, is math. And I understood the math to some degree, but I missed some of a different perspective on it. And now that I've glaringly taken a look at what's going on, it's a lesson that is really drilled home, that the way I look at an e-commerce business, or really any online business, or even any business per se, is just math. And you have to know your numbers front to back and back to front. So when I'm running ads, I know down to the penny what I can spend. And it is staggering because the niche that we're in with our e-commerce business, we are competing against brands that people have seen. I guarantee your listeners have seen an advertisement from them on primetime television. And we will never, ever do that because we don't have to, because I understand how this works. They ironically don't compete at the level that we compete, but there's enough traffic sources out there to grow a brand to a certain level. Now, if we ever grow it big enough, it'll get over our head and over my head from a management perspective, and something I would want, but then I would turn on and sell it, because that's the other thing that people don't realize, is that there's an entire industry out there where you can buy and sell businesses now. So hopefully that gives you some context and an answer there, Alex. It was a little long-winded, but build your relationship, get that email list, and focus on developing a relationship with your buyers and subscribers.
That's amazing value right there. And I had stopped and took some notes to make sure I went back and touched on a couple key items that I know are going to be pertinent to those listeners. So one thing you talked about, you don't have to go into heavy detail, but amount of times you were hitting your email list before, not many times, but today, how often do you hit your email list, in a week?
In a week, at least 4 times a week now, minimum 4 times, sometimes 6, but it's at least 4 times a week. That's the goal. And in the past, I'm embarrassed to say, it would be once every 6 to 8 weeks.
And I don't want to jump in on you there, but I know some experience. I've had the fear myself of hitting people that many times. The truth is, people are going to miss it. They're not going to see it. It's going to be the wrong time. Maybe it just doesn't get through. You have to hit them that much.
That is correct. And again, if you have, then this is the other key technical detail, not to scare people off with anything technical. If you're not talking to your list, the ISPs like the Gmails, the Yahoos, the Hotmails of the world, they don't know you. And so then when you do send an email, if they don't know you, your reputation is not built. So you have to do it for a bunch of reasons. A, to build a relationship with your customer, but also with the ISPs, so they will let your mail go through. Because if you're sending mail, it's not getting in the inbox, no one's going to see it. And that is a cost that's painful, because you've spent money to get that, and now you can't leverage it and use it to grow your business.
Yes. And, as we get into, we'll stay a little high level here, but I'm sure Steve has had experience, choosing the right SMTP provider, understanding your domain score. These are things that, either Steve himself and someone on his team could help you with, and we'll chat about that towards the end. But those technical details matter, right? They move the needle. And so let's talk about unique ways you're moving the needle. You're not on television, but what are a couple other traffic sources that are working really well for you, at this time?
Well, right now it's still paid traffic, as in terms of, that's the number one thing. And now that I've learned how this works, again, it goes back to just math, right? And so you have to, the analogy I always use when I'm working with clients or coaching people is, you're going to have to spend some money. Now, we're not talking tens of thousands of dollars, but you are going to have to spend a little bit of money. And you need to spend that money to gather some data to find out, is the ad creative working? Is the targeting you're doing, depending upon the platform, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Google, whether it's YouTube, because those are other platforms that are out there that are equally as viable. Then there's all these ad exchanges and ad networks out there. So there are plenty of opportunities for traffic. That is just the paid aspect. Now, when I got started in this, I was petrified to do that because I didn't understand how it worked. I thought, no, my mindset was nobody clicks on ads. And so this doesn't going to work. Well, statistically, 99% of people do not click on ads. So I know right now for our business, if I can get think about this for a second, a 1% click rate on an advertisement, that means 99% of the people that saw the ad don't click, they just move on, right? But that 1% clicks. Then from there, you have a smaller, there's gonna be a level of conversion in there. If I can get to the point where I get conversions from those clicks and I'm offering a product that has a high enough price point where somebody's willing to pull out their credit card and make a purchase, the value exchange is there, the math can work, but you have to spend money to establish all those KPIs in the process. And most people don't know how to do that or don't bother to look at it. Either they're afraid or they tried it and they just didn't know and they give up and quit because like this doesn't work. And it's just not true.
Exactly. And this is where I want to talk about, what Steve can do for businesses that are listening right now, with his experience and, what he's doing currently. Steve, you want to talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, so our business has been hurt by COVID, and it is what it is, just due to the supply chain issues and all those things. So in that, because we're a little bit of a downturn, I've started doing some coaching, consulting with businesses, and it's been really a lot of fun, and B, just seeing the amount of businesses out there that do need help. Because again, sometimes you get so deep in the weeds, you can't see the forest for the trees. Then on top of that, or in conjunction with that, is you don't know what you don't know. And so reaching out and getting some, I call it counsel from others who've already are farther down the road or have that experience can bring a business a long way. And so that's what I'm now bringing to them is, ways that I can help them cut through a lot of that noise where they're stuck because they've grown to a certain spot and they're just stuck. They need a fresh set of eyes. And in certain situations, not all, but if it's the right relationship and we have a good personal relationship and they see that I'm adding a tremendous amount of value, I'm actually proposing taking an equity stake in that business with the plan that there will be some growth involved and that we would turn on and do an exit. Obviously, they would retain the majority of that, but I would take a stake in that because the expertise that I'm bringing to the table, because it is completely possible. And that is a world that I'm getting more involved with in terms of the buying and the selling of business assets. Now, you could have a business where you have a bunch of different moving parts, but maybe this one piece is just an asset of your business. You could take that growth to a certain spot and sell that off. And you hear about this all the time in the big business world, but businesses that are smaller can do the exact same thing. And that was a limiting belief that I had that I've now overcome. And it's been staggering the amount of opportunities that are out there because you have a lot of people who've grown a business, gotten to a certain spot, and now, again, their lack of experience or just don't know things and just don't know how to think through some things is causing them to hit a spot where now they're considering shutting the business down or just there's a whole variety of issues that come around that. And that is sad because the US economy, the world economy is hurting right now. And based on the inflation that's happening right now as I'm recording this video, it's only making it harder. And so you're seeing more and more businesses closing. And I don't know if you knew this, Alex, but statistically right now in the United States, as of the filming of this video, there are 1,400 businesses per day that are closing per day.
Holy cow. I did not know that.
Yeah. Now businesses are starting at the same time, but at the same time, there's that many closing, whether it's a brick and mortar in any town you live in across North America or an online business, it doesn't matter. There are businesses closing every day and it's 1,400 per day on average.
And to those who are listening right now, who might be thinking that might be me next month, 6 months from now, a year from now, take into account what Steve mentioned. For example, if you had an email list and you're not hitting them, that's an asset to your business that you could cultivate in a unique way, right? Be open to new ideas, reach out. Steve, where can people reach out to you and really, not only pick your brain for new ideas, but if it makes sense to work with you, work with you?
The best platform is LinkedIn. You just do a search for Steve Kilberg. You'll find me on there. You can also go to the website, SKRP Media. I'm actually doing a refresh on the website right now, but there'll be a place you can opt in on the website. But I would say the primary source would be LinkedIn.
And I'll drop his LinkedIn in the chat below, as well as the YouTube and the Anchor podcast. I just want to say thank you, Steve, for coming on today and sharing not only usable insights, but a vision for what we can do to make changes positively, right? If you've got assets, you've got an opportunity. That's what I heard.
Yes, there's opportunities out there. So like Alex said, if you're in that spot where you don't know and you don't want to be one of those businesses that's going to close next month or next quarter, reach out to either me. It doesn't even have to be me, but reach out to somebody who can help you, give you some advice. But reach out to somebody who's already doing what you're trying to do or where you want to go, because advice is free. You'll get it from anybody. And if people don't have the skills or the experience, they have no context, they're most likely going to give you bad advice. And I say this because I made that mistake before, but then I found the right mentors to help me. And now that I'm farther down the road, I want to turn on and help other people as well. And I'm no different. Anybody can do this. I don't care what your economics, it does not matter. Your economic background, your education background, you name it. It does not matter. Your age, doesn't matter. Anybody can do this, but you got to put the work in. And if you enjoy doing research and you really enjoy getting involved and just making an impact on how you can make the world a better place, I guess I look at it from that perspective, then you should keep going forward and never quit.
That's a great place to end on. Steve, thank you so much for coming on from SKRP Media. Until next time.